Hi guys, I'm here with Alex Malaska, and he's going to share with us a little bit about the legacy that he would like to leave as his life and that great thing that he would like to follow God in doing.
Well, yes, Desi. No, I think that for me it all comes down to relationships and to intimacy, and especially intimacy with God. And I think that often for people that's experienced as such an elusive thing or a thing that's not possible, and it's so much easier to just do things for God than actually just spending time with God, and that can be intimidating. And I think that whatever it looks like, I think that the one thing that I'd want to do is to help lead people into that, and to just put myself in a position where God could use me to draw people into having that experience. There's a quote from a book by Brennan Manning called Abba's Child that I think I'd like to read, that I think really encapsulates what I'm talking about here. It's actually where he's talking about another man's life, a guy named John Egan, and he describes it here. So let me just find this here. Manning writes, John Egan, who died in 1987, was an ordinary man. An unheralded high school teacher in Milwaukee, he spent 30 years ministering with youth. He never wrote a book, appeared on television, converted the masses, or gathered a reputation for holiness. He ate, slept, drank, biked cross-country, roamed through the woods, taught classes, and prayed. And he kept a journal, published shortly after his death. It is the story of an ordinary man whose soul was seduced and ravished by Jesus Christ. The introduction reads, "The point of John's journal is that we ourselves are the greatest obstacle to our own nobility of soul, which is what sanctity means. We judge ourselves unworthy servants, and that judgment becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We deem ourselves too inconsiderable to be used even by a God capable of miracles, with no more than mud and spit, and thus our false humility shackles an otherwise omnipotent God. Egan, a flawed man with salient weaknesses and character defects, learned that brokenness is proper to the human condition, that we must forgive ourselves for being unlovable, inconsistent, incompetent, irritable, and pot-bellied, and he knew that his sins could not keep him from God. They had all been redeemed by the blood of Christ. In repentance, he took his shadow self to the cross and dared to live as a forgiven man. In Egan's journey, one hears echoes of Merton. God is asking me, the unworthy, to forget my unworthiness and that of my brothers, and dare to advance in the love which has redeemed and renewed us all in God's likeness, and to laugh, after all, at the preposterous ideas of worthiness." Struggling to shrink the illusory self, Egan pursued a life of contemplative prayer with ruthless fidelity. During his annual 8-day silent directed retreat, the revelation of his true self hit with sledgehammer force. On the morning of the 6th day, he was visited with his spiritual director. And this is a quote directly out of his journal here. That day, Bob says with great clarity, striking the table with his fist, "John, this is your call, the way God is calling you. Pray for a deepening of this love. Yes, savor the present moment where God is. Indulge the contemplative in you. Surrender to it. Let it be. Search for God." Then he states something that I will ponder for years. He says it very deliberately. I ask him to repeat it so that I can write it down. "John, the heart of it is this: to make the Lord and his immense love for you constitute your personal worth. Define yourself radically as one beloved by God. God's love for you and his choice of you constitute your worth. Accept that, and let it become the most important thing in your life." We discuss it. The basis of my personal worth is not my possessions, my talents, not esteem of others, reputation, not kudos of appreciation from parents and kids, not applause and everyone telling you how important you are to the place. I stand anchored now in God, before whom I stand naked. This God who tells me, "You are my son, my beloved one."